Hello, welcome to the Meeple Mentor Reviews. I'm Jared, and with me is Holly. We're going to give our impression today of the game VENN by VEOP Games, and this is a party game for 2 or more players. It's usually played in teams. We played it cooperatively. There is a mode for that. I mean, basically, we had an odd number of players in our first play of this, so 5 people. So interestingly, cooperatively was cool. There is a timer in the game that you're supposed to be using, but we found that it was almost too difficult to use with the timer, especially because everyone had to kind of get used to the kind of gameplay that it was asking us to do. Do you want to describe a little bit about, how this works?
So essentially you've got 3 circles here representing colors or 3 terms on the board. And your duty is to go through this stack of abstract cards, art to match the
words.
Yeah, and
there's 3 words that are
so the other
secret.
people can guess what you're trying to aim at on the board.
Yeah, so one person is the giver of secret clues, which is done by selecting random art cards. And I found that the abstract cards that you're using to try to communicate a specific word or different words, 3 words, they're so abstract. It was, people were taking their time just looking at every single card every time.
If you're like me and you're in a co-op game, you want to find a term or an abstract image that's going to match a term that everybody's going to get. But the problem with the cards is they're too abstract because it could really match anything on there. We got stuck on the same terms.
Well, it was interesting doing it cooperatively because we all took one turn basically as the clue giver and looking at the art cards. And I went first giving these clues. And I think before I gave all 3 clues, it was 5 minutes of me looking through every card. And everyone's like, pick something. And I'm like, I can't. None of this is if you're very literal, as I can be, I try to find something that's this is definitely going to be an exact, okay, they're going to get it. But the cards are such that there's so many different things on them, sometimes maybe conflicting to what you're trying to get across. And then you're like, okay, well, I'll just find a different card. But every card is like that, so there's not going to be a perfect card for any of the words. So if you're like me and you're trying to find the perfect accurate representation in a picture of a word that you want them to guess, you're going to be a little frustrated. It definitely plays to those with just a very creative, the way that you think about things.
Definitely.
Yeah, so I think we had fun with it, but it took a while for everyone to get on board with the concept behind what was going on. We had a mixed group of people of some heavy gamers and hobbyists, and then newer gamers and that sort of thing. I think me and the other heavier gamer at the table were less enthused about how the gameplay was working out. I was trying to make sure everyone was just trying to have fun, but I think understanding what everyone was trying to do was a little difficult.
Whereas I think myself and the other new gamers, we had a blast. It was fun. It was kind of convoluted, actually, but it was a lot of fun, and I definitely wouldn't recommend the timer.
Yeah. Yeah, I think playing without the timer is almost a necessity, just for the sake of having the most fun with it. At that point, the score doesn't really matter. It's kind of like when you play just one, where it doesn't matter what your points end up to be as long as everyone got a couple turns being the clue giver and everyone had fun guessing. I think this the kind of game that this really is. So whether you do it teams or co-op, it's going to be a good time. But again, I caveat that with it's going to be a mixed bag as to what kind of gamers are going to like the game.
Yeah.
And so as she was pointing out, maybe newer gamers, maybe people who aren't super literal or that sort of thing. Those people would like it a lot more.
I'm pretty literal. I found hilarity in that.
Okay.
Because I feel that at least one of the other people were pretty literal too, because she it took her a minute to figure out what she wanted just to be her first card, as it did all of us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably not for the literal, but just for laughs, it could be.
I think some of it we were laughing at each other, and some of it we were laughing at the
for
cards.
Sure.
And so I think you sort of have to realize that some of the game is going to be getting laughed at because of the choice of cards that you put down.
But you accept that, and it's always good fun.
Yeah, of course. I don't necessarily think that's the point of the game, to like laugh at whoever's putting cards out, because you're hearing the banter of what people are thinking you're trying to communicate, and then a new card comes out and they're like, well, that doesn't help me, or
Right.
like, well, how is it this? I thought I had it, and now I'm completely lost. And you know, as the clue giver, you want to...
Meanwhile, as the clue giver, you think you're totally on track, and you're putting this card out to reinforce, and they're like, what? That doesn't make sense. It's great.
And then they back away from what you thought they already understood. In some cases, I was like, oh, you already got that the word was sharp. Now you're guessing that it's something else. I'm like, oh, no, now I got to worry about...
I have to redirect you
again.
Yeah.
But essentially, you go until, you know, everyone's kind of sure of what the three words are. And then, you know, one player can just sort of say, all right, stop, I'm going to guess, right?
Call VENN.
They call VENN, right. And then you basically just... They give you the three words. It doesn't even have to match up to any of the circles that were being used. But if any of those three were right, you know, you get a certain amount of points for correct answers. Bonus points if you get all three and that sort of thing. But I think overall, it's it can be fun. It can be laugh out loud at times, but it can also be really frustrating.
It can definitely be frustrating.
So again, I think it's kind of a mixed bag on what your you know, whether your game group will enjoy or not.
Just don't take it too seriously.
Yeah, it's probably just don't take it too seriously. It's probably a warm-up game to your game night instead of, you know.
Yeah,
I don't
definitely. It's not the
meat and potatoes.
It's not the centerpiece of the night, but
no.
It's fun.
it was fun. So you know, if let's see, who would be best to really enjoy this? Who can we best recommend this for?
I mean, I think it really says it when it says it's a party game.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think it fits the category of party game.
Okay. So if you're wanting to move past, say, code names and introduce a more artistic party game, this might be the one for you. So check it out. VENN from the Op Games.